Hi, Pastor Frank here from Trinity Nazarene Church in Ottawa, and here's a thought. During these unprecedented days, these days of pandemic uncertainty, people are being affected in different ways, and many people find themselves, for example, eating more than they did before. There's actually an app now that will tell you how much you are going to weigh after the pandemic is over. They call it the Quarantine 15. Some people are itching to get outside and will, now that the weather is finally starting to improve. Others have hunkered down and really don't know what to do with themselves or what to think. Some are afraid for their future. Some are afraid for their today. Fear does different things to different people. Psychologists say that we have a fight or flight reflex, and I think that most people choose flight rather than fight in most circumstances. Think about it. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were celebrating Easter. The week before, Holy Week, Maundy Thursday, the disciples met with Jesus for the Last Supper, and then Peter and John and James went with Jesus to pray in the Garden of Gethsemane. They fell asleep. When they woke up, Jesus was arrested. They ran. During the crucifixion, they watched, and then they ran, and then they hid in the upper room and didn't know what to do with themselves after that. And we have been driven inside ourselves, away from work and away from friends, away from life, really. We hide ourselves away by physically distancing, social distancing. We're drawn to be with other people, but we're afraid to be with other people. We look for hope. We listen to our Prime Minister every day at 11:15, hoping that we will hear some words of hope from him as well. Meanwhile, we wait. And what are you doing with your time? This enforced quiet time that we have? I've suggested that this could be taken as a time of solitude rather than of isolation, a time of reflection rather than just sitting down. How's that going for you? I know, it's difficult. I went through a reflection process myself a number of years ago when I was on sabbatical. There I was, alone, with lots of time to ponder and think and reflect on my life. And I realized for the first time really who I was. I'd never really taken the time to do that before. I was always more concerned with what other people expected of me and what other people thought of me. But now I realized that the first 50 years of my life had been all about other people. I wish I could say that that was the start of my new life, but it wasn't. It took me a few years after that to realize and to accept who I was and to not to worry about what people thought of me and just to do what I thought best, what God wanted me to do with my life. And I don't think I'm alone in this. I don't think that many people take time to sit and reflect and discover who they are because they don't have time to, or what's worse, because they're afraid to. They're afraid of what they will find, afraid they'll spend the rest of their lives disappointed because they haven't been good enough. Good enough for others, good enough for themselves, good enough for God. Leading lives, as Henry David Thoreau is credited with saying, leading lives of quiet desperation. Desperate for something, but not knowing what it is that they're desperate for. And then I think many people spend their lives worrying about what other people think of them because they want to be accepted, they want to be wanted, they want to be needed, they want to be loved without ever realizing that they are loved already. Now that we have this gift of time, and think of it as a gift rather than as a curse, now we have the gift of time, we can learn about ourselves and we can grow. It's a good time, this quiet time, to focus on you and on your relationship with God, and through that, with your relationship with others. We have time. We can run away, or we can remember that there is hope in the renewed days ahead. We can wither away, or we can decide to grow.